Hello folks, welcome to some more hobby nightmares. If I sound a bit different today, it's because I was called into a meeting earlier on today, which means I didn't get time to record my hobby nightmares at home, so I've had to do it at the office. So there you go. My dedication to you always prevails. Let's jump into our hobby nightmares, shall we, with our first hobby nightmare of the day, which is from Dennis. And before I do anything, I'd like to plug my Patreon, because I've not done that in quite a while. If you like what I do, then please head over and support me on Patreon. If you feel like getting me a pint or something to have over the weekend, that's the place to go and do it. I have noticed that whenever I do a more controversial topic, like toxicity in the hobby, things like that, or anything that Games Workshop tend to do, I tend to not get monetized on those videos, which is a shame, really, but there we are. So, if you'd like to support what I do, then please make sure you head over to Patreon and you do that. So, Dennis says, "Hi North, my name is Dennis, and you can call me whatever you want." Okay, well, I've called you Dennis, that's your name. "I started seeing your channel with that one video about the man who couldn't stop buying models, even though he didn't have anyone to play with. You seem to be a great dude and one of the few internet people who understand the separation of the art from the artist. Although I don't agree with a few things you've said, like the tweet about female space marines, since as far as I understand, there were always female space marines, just like how there were always Leagues of Votann in the centre of the galaxy, and the Custodians always wore armour. Thank you for bringing the community together." Okay, well, number one, it wasn't a tweet. I don't tweet. I'm not on Twitter. And I never will be. So, yeah. So I don't know where you saw that. Maybe it was for the female custodians video where I said people shouldn't really be bothered about it. They should get on with their lives and make their hobby what they want. Or maybe you didn't like the fact that I don't think female custodians should be a thing. Well, I don't know. Let's move on. For context, I live in Greece. I am a college student and relatively new at the hobby, trying to get into it on and off for a few years now. Okay. I don't have much of a hobby nightmare. I will send another email someday with how I got into the hobby because that left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. I'm sending this email seeking a way to avoid a future nightmare. Me and a friend will start playing one-page rules this October after I'm done with my summer job and I go back to university. We will start with paper models, and since he has a very limited budget, he might stay with them. However, I am thinking of spending a few euros every 6 months or so on models. I'm thinking of buying only from Only Games, the company that ships physical OPR miniatures, but I'm worried about the durability of them. Not only their durability, but generally of re-signed miniatures. Even with plastic ones, I'm a bit anxious to take them out of my house. I already have a kill team ready to go. I don't plan to have them thrown off of 2 meters or anything like that, and I don't care if a weapon or a hand breaks here and there, but I wouldn't really like to have to spend 100 euros, almost a tenth of my monthly wage mind you, in porcelain plastic, just to then throw it away. Okay, what I seek from you and other lovely people listening in the comment section as your experiences with resign prints. I don't know what you mean by re-sign prints. Okay, 3D printing, I'm guessing. How durable are they? How durable plastic miniatures are, and if possible, some tips to take better care of my models. I know magnetized bases and foam are usually preferred. Okay, so, again, not really hobby nightmare, but something that I think is very, very important to the hobby, so I've got no problem talking about it. In terms of well, the first thing you need to do is stop being so fearful. That's the first thing. As you said, you're not bothered about weapons and heads breaking off every now and again. That's fine, because that will happen. If you're going to any sort of event, or even to play a normal game with your friends at the local hobby shop, certain models will break. That's just how it's going to happen, I'm afraid. And, you're never going to avoid breakage. You can have... I was given, when I was working Games Workshop, a free ARD case. Now, if you know what an ARD case is, it's a very sturdy case, to the point where they were advertising at Games Workshop by throwing it downstairs and things like that. There is a really good urban legend of Duncan Rhodes in the car park of Warhammer World, where he's literally got a sledgehammer, and he takes the sledgehammer to the yard case, and they need to go. They either doctor the footage, or they try and get a take where he pulls his shot a little bit, because when he hits it full on, it goes straight through the case when they're trying to show how durable this case is. You know what I mean? But even in that case, that Games Workshop said was the best one, the sturdiness and keeping your model safe that they've ever produced. Right? My model still broke every now and again. That's just how it goes. So I would always arrive with super glue on hand, at least some blue tack, right? At least some blue tack. If something breaks and you're literally about to start a game and you can't wait for your glue to dry, blue tack, and then when you take a break from the game, make sure that you glue it back together again. So don't fear it too much. I mean, I think people in the hobby are sometimes, especially when money's quite tight, they're terrified of getting things wrong, and I completely understand that. When I was in university, I had that fear. I wasn't earning very much money, and so when the time came for me to come and get some nice models or something like that, I was terrified of doing them wrong to the point that I just wouldn't paint them. You know, I'd uncoat them, but I'd never paint them. And it sucked. It sucked because, you know, later on when I did have some money, or I was working the Games Workshop, so I could get them 50% off, or I was working on the store miniatures. That's when I became a better painter. I became a better painter by repetition, and learning from other people working for the same company that I was, right? Which is a shame, because it basically means there is a soft gap. There's a soft cap there, because if you're not earning a certain amount of money, you're never going to get better at painting, because you need to paint models again and again and again and again to get better at it. Do you know what I'm saying? So lose the fear. Lose the fear. So if you don't have that much money, do you know what? You're gonna have to get on with it, dude. In terms of carrying things, a good carry case is always preferred. Please make sure you're not turning up to an event with a shoebox filled with tissue paper. And if you do that, then please make sure you don't moan at people when your models break, because that's nobody's fault but your own, because you haven't got something to carry around your models in, right? I've got no problem with you using such a thing to carry around your models, but don't come crying to me when some of them break, right? There's a reason why we have bespoke carrying cases. I know they seem like a waste of money. They seem like, you know, all the things you can do are just as good. They're not, right? A Crusader case or a model case will 9 times out of 10 keep your bigger, better models nice and safe and keep the paint from chipping away, especially if you're going on public transport or in a car or something like that. That is the best thing to transport your army in. So maybe look into getting yourself a Crusader case or a carry case, or maybe even a third-party one. Some third-party ones are really good out there. And folks, if you know of any good ones, third-party carry cases, put them in the comment section down below for this young man. Let's get him some help with transporting his mighty forces to the battlefield, shall we? All right, cool. Zontar says, "Hello North, Zontar here with another tale. A tale of betrayal and necessary actions. One told in whispers around the plug in campfire at club overnights, between the story of the toilet that flooded the school basement and the toaster that fried half the campus fuses. Get comfortable and prepare the tea. You'll need it for the hobby horror that was the Computer Gaming Club coup." Okay. When he says coup, I'm assuming he means, like, you know, military coup or something like that. That's how I'm choosing to read it anyway. Alright. Our tale began one fall semester. The college was a rather small one, only about 3,000 students. A CEGEP that served to help transition high school students to university by taking the last and first year of both and bundling them into a separate school. This causes the student body to be the exact type of 18 to 20-year-olds you'd expect, and we were no different. Okay, that's kind of like how sixth form college works in the UK, but the kids are a little bit younger than that because they're preparing for university by doing A-levels, you know? Anyway, the school had an active club scene, after a dozen sanctioned clubs at the time, if I recall correctly. The type you'd expect: music, video games, anime, tabletop, ethnic and religious grievance clubs, and the unfortunately very misrun relaxation club. Can you imagine? I misran relaxation club. What are they doing? Raving. I myself joined the anime club due to it catering to my interest and being right next to the tabletop club, who I became a de facto member of on top of that. All three of these clubs, as well as the three others, were in a large storage closet that could have been no more than 400 square feet that had been partitioned with cheap drywall into 6 rooms with a hallway barely shoulder wide that any fire marshal would have shut down in an instant. The unfortunate victim in this nightmare can be called John, because I don't trust an Englishman to say his hyphenated French name correctly. Fair enough. I can't. Yeah, fair enough. John, to be fair, I was doing archery on Sunday, and when I did a good shot, I said I was imagining a Frenchman on the end of it. Just... Anyway, moving on. John is not a bad guy, but he is dim-witted. The type who makes you wonder how he managed to get into college at all. The son of a man who became rich during the dot-com boom, he never had an understanding of money and its value, to the point he once asked me if a $1,500 invincible gun that a DayZ server on Arma 2, to date when this time period was, that was only usable on that one server, was worth it for him to buy. Take a sip of tea to process that. Yeah, I will be honest with you, gaming whales are a lot worse than wargaming whales. A lot worse. Like, some of the shit they end up buying. And it's like this virtual thing that's not even real. At least wargamers are buying something that's tangible. They can touch it, it's there, and it's theirs forever, right? And it's there on their shelf. No one's going to come into your house and say, sorry, we're shutting down the servers, we're going to take all your models back. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, as you can expect, I told him, no it isn't. You could buy 25 new games for that type of money. But far longer, less eloquently and more profanely, of course. He asked me that because he trusted me, though. A trust I'd betray, and I will explain why. Wow, see, you're the nightmare then. Well, let's read on first, before we judge. The college had a video game club, and a very active one, likely the most active club the school had. It had the largest room, and was constantly filled with people, mostly playing fighting or racing games due to the ability to quickly get people through them. This did, however, leave a hole in their player base, PC gamers, and John had the bright idea to create a PC gaming club, officially the Computer Gaming Club, to cater to these people like himself who mostly played on the laptops used for school work. I myself was roped into it as I had formed a mild friendship with John, the type you make with people with similar interests and proximity rather than anything else. Dude, you're going to trigger so many university people who went through the same thing. I had loads of friends who were just into similar things, but it was really heartbreaking to know that not everybody who's into the same things that I am is going to be a nice person. And that was something that university taught me. You know what I mean? Because until university, I wasn't secluded, but I was the only big nerd in my group that I'd go out drinking with. You know what I mean? So yeah, eye-opener. Anyway, he also roped in my friends who we will call Kyle and Mark, who I'd known in my high school days, and for the same reason, though unlike them, I had experience managing clubs as I'd been one of those who ran my own high school's anime club. The club was formed in 2 strokes. The first was John anonymously reporting the relaxation club to administration due to some of its members smoking things I can't see on YouTube in it. An accusation that their investigation found to be accurate and led to 2 expulsions from the school. The second was the application, which came in the form of a document outlining the club's purpose, mandate, why it was different enough from the video game club to justify it, and a constitution for how it was to be run and managed. Administration accepted it, and with that we had a room, mandate, and a $100 budget for the semester that was put towards an old work desktop for anyone to use for playing. John was the president, Mark the vice president, I was the treasurer, and Kyle was the secretary. the 4 positions all clubs needed. Okay, that sounds like a biker gang. It does. Your president, your VP, your treasurer, and your secretary. You know what I mean? Your little club. The nightmare occurred in our second semester. Each semester. Why does my voice do that? Semester. Anyway, the nightmare occurred in our second semester. Each semester, students are notified after it ends if they are put on administrative notice. This stems from failing half or more of your classes. If you do so, a second time within 2 years, you are flunked out of the school. John, like about a third of students, was placed on notice at the end of his first semester. For most students, this is the warning for them to get their act together. For John, it just meant another fact of his education not to inform his father about. This is a rich kid all over. Dude, there was in my university, right, there was a rich Asian kid who I'm going to call Richard. And this guy, oh my god, the most privileged, arrogant. He was English, you know what I mean? Like his mum and dad were very, very wealthy from China, but he was brought up in England, and he was the most arrogant, idiotic. He lived on my floor, and money had no value to him at all, and people's personal property had no value to him at all. Put it this way, he almost got expelled from the university straight away because in our college we had a stag statue outside, right? And it had just been made, and the university spent a lot of money on it. And if you know anything about Durham University, boy, do they love wasting money on big fucking sculptures rather than, making our fees lighter. But there you go. And he decided when he was drunk to have a ride on this stag. Of course, he broke off an antler from the stag, which cost a couple of, £7,000 or £8,000 to replace, on this bespoke fucking thing. And he told his parents, they paid for it, and he just carried on his gleeful way and started making jokes about how he'd done it. Now, I'm not a job's worth, and I'm not some sort of grass, you know what I mean? But even I looked at that behaviour and I went, mate, you're a douchebag. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is that? Why did you do that? So, yeah, I'm fully aware that there are people like this out there. He did multiple other things that are like wrecking his own room, wrecking other people's rooms. When I was in a club once, and he threw up on the back of my pants, like as I was standing there on the floor. He drunk too much, and I ended up grabbing him, throwing him into the toilet, and just literally kicking him into the toilet with my friend holding me back because I was just that irate. I went home, took him off, threw them in the wash and changed my pants, came back. But I just could not believe the gall of this guy to do stuff like that. And he just had no concept of other people and how they worked. Like he thought we were living in his world. Do you know what I mean? I legitimately think that he thought that we were all living in his world, and he was the main character in his own story, and nobody else really mattered. But that's rich kids. I came across a lot of them at Durham, and you come across them. And if you go to a decent university, you will come across them. I'm telling you now. But hey, he spent his days in the club, playing games like the aforementioned DayZ mod for Arma 2, amongst others, flunking out courses from missing them, and even getting the notice of the student council, who informed the rest of us of this sad state of affairs. It turned out that by the middle of the semester, he had stopped going to classes entirely, using the club room as his personal gaming space for his laptop from 8 AM to 5 PM. We would later learn that his father had banned him from playing video games at home entirely, for reasons that are frankly quite understandable. Yeah. The betrayal was quick. The same day we had been informed of this, Kyle, Mark and I sat down and in 30 seconds of discussion agreed that John had to be removed and banned from the club. In our club's constitution, one rule was outlined that a club administrator could be removed if there was a consensus amongst the other 3, and so we quickly typed up a form explaining that we had done so and why, and handed a copy to the student council administration and to John, who was in the club room as expected, and it felt like an intervention for us to break it to him. As expected, he tried. Not a lot of loud sobbing, just a quiet pouring as he accepted what had happened. We didn't say anything mean. We were frank that this was for his academic career, that he would be allowed back next semester as a member if he turned things around. But it remained unsaid that everybody knew that wasn't going to happen. He simply left, not happy about the situation, but understanding why we did it. I never spoke to him again after that day, though I did come across him a few times in public. He'd become a greaser of all things, and whilst I don't know how he is now, I do hope he has gotten his act together wherever he is. What, he became a 50s, like one of those dudes? So his response to you banning him from the PC club was to become a T-bird from Greece. Oh, God. As for the club, it would continue with Mark becoming president, me becoming vice president, Carl becoming treasurer, and another club member becoming secretary. 2 years later, I would be president, the last founder in it due to transferring programs twice, and would graduate one semester after we had the video game club successfully petitioned to be merged into the Gaming Society, which would grant us a $1,000 semester budget for equipment. If there is a moral to the story beyond the obvious ones of getting one's act together rather than trying to ignore problems, I can't think of it. I just hope someone in a similar situation does what needs to happen, even if, like me, it means that they must be someone else's hobby nightmare, because sometimes it needs to be done. Cheers from the colonies, Zontar. Cheers, man. Wonderful stuff. All right. I'm going to take a quick sip of my cold drink because I'm at work, so I'm not drinking tea right now. Yeah, I'm trying to cut down on my tea drinking because I don't know. Water's good as well. Flavored water, all good. Anyway, Fruitbat says, Hello. I've been watching your hobby nightmares while I build my forces. I don't think I've heard anything quite like my own experience yet, so I thought you and your viewers might be interested in it. Okay. A friend and I decided to get into 40k before the end times pandemic. All was well until I got an unbelievable engineering job offer and had to move across the country mid-apocalypse. I was wanting to find some locals to play 40k with, so when we were able to, I decided to take a chance at my local Games Workshop store. The manager seemed nice enough, but I initially felt out of place, as there was clearly an established close-knit community of daily regulars. I am not an extrovert, and I'm shy about going to new places and talking to people, but I persevered because... I preserved myself from formaldehyde. No, but I preserved... check your spelling. Sorry. But I persevered because I had basically no alternative means of making friends besides work. Most of those people are smoked out POT heads or have whacked out drama-filled lives, and I'm very selective on who I allow into my life. That's fair enough. Warhammer seemed like a relatively safe premise for meeting new people. Regardless, this store had a clique. They were also courteous and invited me to a Discord to organise meetups, etc. The manager did the usual and tried to sell me XYZ, but I am not one to be swayed by sales tactics. I know it's his livelihood, and I also make my I made my planned purchase. Okay, fair enough. I would go to the store once or twice a week and hang out. I tried painting there, but it wasn't for me really. Mainly, I was playing 40k games. I would always buy something to pay for the time I spent there. However, I noticed that it wasn't just the manager that was pushing me to buy bigger things. The clique of members were also pushing, sometimes more aggressively than the manager, for me to buy things I just didn't need. Now, the Discord was run by this clique, but the manager was not in it because it could hurt his job. Seems reasonable enough to me, but this time Leviathan is released. The box is too expensive for me to forego the local game store discounts, so that is the route I took with a fellow friend of mine. To make a long story short, one day the ringleader publicly snubbed me in the Discord and then privately apologised in a DM. This apology also implied that assholery from other members would be tolerated in the Discord as long as they were supporting the manager by buying things. I was on edge due to working 80-hour weeks, and this infuriated me. I wrote back to him that I was not going to accept a private apology for a public offence. Yes, I was about to bring that up. No, you shouldn't. Do not accept a private apology for a public offence. That's ridiculous. If you insult me in public, make your apology public. Do you know what I mean? That's a coward's way out. Or do both. Apologise publicly and privately. You know? I also wrote that I felt very unwelcomed. All of this, of course, is paraphrasing. My actual response was pretty scathing, and I am embarrassed by the intensity of my reaction, so I will not repeat it, but I stand by what I wrote. All this is to demonstrate that there was, undoubtedly, a clique that was particularly interested in supporting the manager. And I mean the manager. They always said that they were buying X to support Mr. Manager, and never to support the store in general. This, coupled with the pushy sales tactics of the clique, who were not employees, led me to believe that these were all the manager's personal friends. The manager himself seemed okay, but I did have a few moments which led me to question whether I liked him or not. For one, he once insisted on showing me the proper use of a tape measure. That's so funny. So I've got a few students walking past the room wondering why I'm laughing. This is how you use a tape measure. Oh my god. These numbers here indicate length. Oh my god. Don't forget to breathe as you leave the store. Perhaps he was trying to be helpful, but it struck me as very condescending. I'm 30 years old. A tape measure should be nothing new, and as an engineer, I had already better know how to use one. In another instance, some patrons were having an excited conversation about Tau. The term space commies was used, to which he interjected, that sort of language will not be tolerated in this store. What? Who does that offend? Communists? We were in the deep south of the USA. There is no one here who should be offended by the term space commies. We can discuss people enslaved to the dark gods, but commies is a step too far. Once my wife, that's a good point actually, once my wife came to the store looking for me, she said, "Mr. Manager, where is my husband?" To which he tries to cover for me, saying I just stepped out of the store. I was in the parking lot. I had never made it to the store yet. When I entered, I was surprised to find my wife chatting with the manager. "I tried to cover for you, bro, but you figured it out," he said. What? Like this guy thought I was cheating on my wife or something, so he just lies to her? My wife is the best thing which has ever happened or ever could happen to me. The implication I would ever cheat on her is offensive to me, but I guess he thought he was following bro code. No, that's not what he thought. You've misunderstood. I'm 99% sure you've just misunderstood what he was doing. I think when she's come in looking for, like, where's my husband, he literally says, I don't know, right? Because he doesn't. Because as you just said, you've not been in the store yet, right? So he says, right, I think he just stepped out if he was here, but yeah, I don't know, right? And then when you come back, he then tells a joke. Like, I tried to cover for you, bro, but you figured it out, you know? It's a bit of a dickish joke, but it's still a joke. He's not trying to insinuate that you're cheating on your wife, all right? Calm down on that one. I heavily doubt that he's trying to do that. Anyway, moving on. Anyway, conspiracy time. Okay, the plot thickens. Sometimes when I was in the store, I would overhear conversations between the manager and clique customers. Usually they were quite benign. Magnus did nothing wrong type conversations, but every once in a while I would hear something interesting, like, and I quote, I saved some extra minis of the month for you, or unquote, or some such. But one time I heard something I should not have. Something like, you can't place multiple orders on the account like you did last night. Because of that, I wasn't able to order my item and it sold out. To which the clique member apologised. This was all the circumstantial evidence I needed to confirm a suspicion I had held for some time. Mr. Manager was allowing his friends to take advantage of his employee discount for all their orders. Ooh, hoo, 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 hoo. That is a no-no. That is a no-no. 1 second, take a drink of water. That is a huge no-no. That is one of the only offences, guys, that will get you immediately fired from Games Workshop. I'm not kidding. That is an immediately sackable offence. They will immediately fire you. If they find you misusing your discount, they immediately fire you. There's no process. There's no like 3-step process of a written warning. No, it's in your contract. It's literally in your contract. They can fire you for that straight away. Don't do it if you work for them. If you like your job, don't do it. Just don't. All right. Right. No wonder they pushed for non-members to buy. The business wasn't sustainable on the regulars because they were all getting 50% off of retail price. That's scummy. That's so scummy. So they're trying to get you to buy stuff 100% price when they're getting 50% off. Wow. Wow. I almost applaud the gumption. That's criminal. That's a mob scheme. This experience, coupled with the price hikes, pushed me to online retailers. Yeah, no shit. I still buy paint once in a while, but I don't feel the need to support a store that plays favourites in such a way. Some good has come of it, though. I've met a few people who I play with regularly and feel similarly about the store, and who feel similarly about the store local clique. All my love, Fruit Bat. Cheers, man. That's terrible. That's the first time in a while. I'm not speechless, but I wow, the actual gumption of that. Jeez. I'm glad you didn't tell me your location, because that is well, not you didn't narrow it down, but that is ridiculous. Yeah, there was back in the day, so I was told I was getting quite a lot of praise when I first started my store, when I first started managing the store, and I was getting a bit not for myself. I was getting like, so things are going really well. This is awesome, I told the trainer, I was like, I'm really happy with how it's going, And he said, yeah, you need to be careful about praise. And I said, why? He said, well, a few years ago, we had a manager who he went into a store and he turned the store around. And when I say turned the store around, I mean like he was getting like, 300, 400% growth every single month, month on month. And every time we went down to the store, he was working his absolute backside off. He was praised. He was actually singled out at a hobby workshop. Hobby workshop, for those of you who don't know, is when we go to Nottingham and we all do some training together, all the managers. He was actually singled out there for praise and got a round of applause for what he'd been doing in his store by fellow managers. I know. And then it was revealed later on, when they did a stock check, that he was actually giving away freebies. So, like, say, if you bought a Land Raider, he would give you a free box of, Space Marine Scouts, or a free box of Space Marine bikes, shit like that. He was doing that all the time. And he was letting people use his staff discount. So if they bought a certain amount of models for their next purchase, he would let them use his discount. Again, it was working, but it wasn't strictly. I mean, it was legal. It's their stock. They can do what they want with it. But the company obviously don't want you giving away models for free. And he was immediately sacked. Immediate. It wasn't. There was no warning. A trainer went round there to his store, literally said, "Listen, you've been accused of this. What do you say?" And to which he didn't deny it. He said, "Yeah, I've been doing that." And he didn't deny the giving away of models, but he did deny the discount thing, because that would have been an instant sackable offence. And to which I don't. They just sacked him. They just said, "Yeah, listen, mate, you need to hand over your keys. We've got evidence in your till that you've been doing this. Unless you can produce those models that you bought tonight, bring them back here so I can see them. You can't keep your job. Sorry. You've literally gone against the A1 thing we tell you not to do, or you'll be sacked. Not only have you done that, but you've also been giving models away for free, which in itself would be a heavy warning, a massive warning. Maybe sackable offence now, but back then it would have been a massive warning. If you did it again, it would have sacked you straight away. So, it is serious. Yeah, it is serious, and it is one of those things. I know, defending the big corporation, how dare I? It's in your contract, man. Don't do it. Read your contract, right? Read your contract and make sure you abide by it. If you can't, then leave. Anyway, I love you all a long time. I will speak to you tomorrow for some more hobby nightmares. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye now.
Da 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 da.